Okay, hopefully this is working now. Hi guys, this is Jackie M again. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Malaysian former restaurateur based here in Sydney, Australia, and I gave up my restaurant to look after my Down syndrome son who's up the back there watching his TV. So if there's any disruption, he's generally the one who gets a little bit impatient and comes around and disrupts, so you'll have to bear with me. I hope you can hear me this time around. Just give me a second while I just refresh my screen. Apologies for the interruption, guys. Just hang on. I'm just on my own at the moment. So hopefully this will work the second time around. Okay, yeah, before I go on any further, shout out to Lenovo Australia for the laptop I use for my live broadcast, and also to Rode microphones for the microphones I use, okay? So today I am making Roti Murtabak, which essentially is a filled bread, okay? Indonesia, when you mention Murtabak in Indonesia, is something slightly different, not quite that different. Well, actually, it is quite different. Murtabak in Indonesia can mean something else, okay? Can mean something we call in Malaysia as appam. But today, the Murtabak I'm talking about is actually is basically a Malaysian filled bread, okay? And the base of it, the bread, the flatbread dough is the same as what we use to make what's called roti canai, or in Singapore it's called roti prata, which is a flat, really thin bread that's folded up into layers and then pan fried, okay? So I've done that a few times before, but people are always fascinated with how it's made. So today I'm going to do essentially that, but this is going to be a filled version. And I'm going to do two different filled versions. Essentially, the two versions I'm doing are savory and sweet, okay? Noah, don't touch, please. Don't touch, okay? So I'm going to, first of all, I've just got some bread, some flour here. This is just plain flour or all-purpose flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this all-purpose flour into strong flour, okay? So I've got here, I'll show you this in a minute. Okay, this here you can pick up at Asian grocery stores. Now you don't actually have to do this. You can just go ahead in your supermarket, just buy bread flour, not bread mix, right? But bread flour. Essentially, it refers to flour that has a higher gluten content than your average all-purpose flour, okay? But I'm using plain flour because I'm kind of cheap. And separately, I've got here, this is called wheat gluten flour. This is basically a very strong high gluten flour here that's usually actually used for making vegan mock meats, okay? So I've got a bag of this, and adding like a spoonful or two into your plain flour mixture will actually basically increase the overall gluten content. So that's all I'm doing here. But don't stress out too much. Really, just regular plain flour often, is adequate. I'm just trying to finesse this recipe a little bit further, okay? So I've got that. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And of course, the recipe, to be honest, the recipe is already on my website, but I'll post it again too, so I can relate it to this particular broadcast. Now, the other thing I'm going to add is some condensed milk. So I want about, for this amount, about a tablespoon of condensed milk. I've only got about 250 grams of flour in here, okay? And I want some ghee. You can use, instead of ghee, you can use, good boy, yeah. Instead of ghee, you can just use oil, okay? But to me, the ghee, which is clarified butter, just adds a nice, richer flavor to this. But if you're vegan, you can actually recreate this recipe using just vegetable oil, okay? So let's put this aside. I just need to grab some water. Just give me a second. Okay, so just a bit of water in here. and just coat the dough with some. And you want to work this, right, for about 5 minutes on a low to medium speed, okay? Conventional wisdom anyway tells you to work the dough basically on a low setting so that the gluten gets to work its way through and turn it into something that's quite, springy and stretchable, okay? So that's one of the main things you want to achieve with the roti dough, so that it becomes really stretchable, so that when you flip it, you can flip it really, really thin. No one's throwing a beach ball around my table over here. Yeah, so let's just crank this up a little bit more. And if you're watching this now, just say hello in the chat room. Like I said, my moderator is off or certainly not online yet. But I've been having staffing problems for the last nearly 2 weeks now. So just when Cyan came back on, she decided she had to take a few hours off. So I don't know when she's going to be back. I'm just going to add a little bit more water to this. So I want ultimately, you know what, stop. I want ultimately a fairly soft dough, but non-sticky, right? Now, as far as the filling, I'm actually trying out a new recipe today. So what I want to do is essentially make a curry mince, okay? Now we can play over there, please. So what I want to do is make a dry mincemeat curry. And usually, in all honesty, when I serve this in my restaurant, and I'm going to get to that picture. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, that picture up in the top right corner of your screen, or my top right corner, is a picture of the murtabak from my restaurant menu, okay? And I had someone complain, and it's always the case, right, because I do Malaysian food, and because I don't look or sound as Malaysian as some people would expect of someone from Malaysia. I think they generally assume that I'm very compromised, but the fact of the matter is that if I'm compromised, it's because I've just been here for so long that, and having run a Malaysian food business that actually people actually pay money to eat your food, I've done it for so long now that I have had on occasion to adapt my recipes and my presentations to suit Western taste, okay? So someone griped about that picture of my murtabak that it had some cucumber slices on it and said, oh, it's not traditionally served with cucumber slices. I said, look, I know that, right? So first of all, traditionally it's served with pickled onion, pink pickled onion, okay? And I did initially make pink pickled onion, but it didn't take, nobody really ate it. So it was just going to waste every time people ordered murtabak. So instead of making a special batch of pink pickled onion that always gets discarded, left behind at every murtabak, for order, I figured I have another pickle that I serve with other dishes in my restaurant, which is the achar, right? Which is the other pickle that you see in that little bowl next to it. So I'll give them some of that pickle instead. And they like that, right? So that's how I ended up serving my murtabak with a bit of the achar and also a curry sauce. And also I threw in some cucumber for, just kind of like for presentation because it gives it a nice contrast, right? So I do things not because I am ignorant of how it's meant to be done over in Malaysia, okay? And even within that context, in Malaysia, if people see you doing something a little bit different, they'll think, oh wow, that's kind of a cute way of doing it. We're going to check out her store, and because it's different from everyone else's. You do it overseas, and they'll say, oh, that's not authentic. So I struggle with that a little bit, but the fact of the matter is, like I said, I grew up in Malaysia. I was nearly 18 when I came to Australia, so I know enough about Malaysian food. I don't claim to know everything. I don't think anyone will ever claim to know everything, right? But I know enough to know, like, what goes with what and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to cook the curry, the mincemeat curry now. Okay, and I've just got my heavy base pan over here. Hi Karen, good to see you. I hope you got your bottle. I hope everything turned up in one piece, by the way, but I hope that bottle turned up in one piece for you that I sent out a couple of weeks ago. But okay, so I've got some chicken mince. Traditionally, actually, to be honest, with Murtabak, they use, you know, whatever. They use beef or, sometimes lamb. I'm using chicken because I happen to have some chicken on hand, right? And I'm going to make like I said, a simple curry flavored filling. So it will have, because it's going to be dry, it'll have no coconut milk or nothing like that. And just hang on. I'm going to throw an onion in it, okay? So this is a fair-sized onion over here. I'm just trying to figure out where the camera is. So that's going to go in. I'll use about half of that. Just to peel it quickly. So usually this Murtabak is sold in Malaysia by Indian vendors, okay? You never, I certainly never did anyway, you never see a Chinese hawker sell roti canai or roti Murtabak. It's usually sold by Indians, and they're not just any Indians, but they're Indians, what we call mamaks, right? Essentially what they are Indians of Muslim persuasion, okay? So most Indians in Malaysia are actually Hindu, but there's a subset of the Indian community that's actually Muslim, and they're the ones who basically spearheaded the whole roti canai and roti Murtabak culture or cuisine. Noah is trying to disrupt proceedings, so I'm going to try and ignore him best I can. But I think he knows that he gets attention if he starts throwing things on my table here. So let's see how far he gets with it. So this is just in my thermal cook. So I've just chopped up some onion here, fairly roughly, okay? And let's check on the roti dough. Now there are lots and lots of, like I said, there's some variations to the recipe, but this is my recipe, okay? And I go a little bit, I'm just trying to zoom out the camera a little bit if I can, but let's see. Okay, but this is my dough here. Okay, I'm struggling to find out where the camera is. Okay, so there's my dough here. You can see it's quite soft, right? But it's non-tacky, okay? So out of this, the 250 grams of flour, I'm going to break this into 4 portions. And usually in my restaurant I used to do it in like 5 kilo batches, okay? So obviously there's a lot of dough to get through. But just let me move some of these things out of the way. So here you go, you can see it. I'm just going to put my cutting board over here and just a second. Okay, now I mentioned like this had condensed milk. You can use sugar. Okay, some recipes call for just like a teaspoon of sugar or something like that for the amount I use, or a tablespoon if you want. Bit of salt, bit of sugar. you know, a lot of mamas nowadays, they use, you know, they use oil or they use margarine, right? I use ghee, which is expensive. Okay, so you can use any one of these, but there are some mamas, right? They talk about actually, usually this has a little bit of egg white in it, or just regular egg, but I've left it out here. Doesn't matter. So usually. There's a lot of debate about the secret ingredient that helps these this dough to stretch properly and all that, right? But I have talked to people who actually sell this in Malaysia who say, look, all they use is just flour, water, and salt, okay? Just those three ingredients. And then there's all this debate about the type of flour. Must be some magic flour that helps you to be able to spread it that thin. Yeah, I don't know, you know, they'll tell you the brand of flour, but obviously in Australia it means nothing because you can't get it. But this is the piece of dough, and I'm going to break this into 4 portions, okay? And you're going to find that with one of the key things about these dough is that with the portions that you break them into, you don't want to have creases in them, okay? So if you end up flattening this or whatever, you want to basically push it back up instead of folding in half, okay? Because once you have creases, what's going to happen is you won't be able to spread it really thin because you're going to get the layers show up from the creases that you created originally, okay? So what I would do usually is just try and ball this up best I can, making sure that, you know, there aren't any like obvious like folds and all that, okay? So that's that. And then you want to, is the wine served cold or room temperature? And is it sweet like a liqueur? Karen, about the wine. I think it's served at room temperature. Is it sweet? You know, to be honest, I don't actually drink alcohol, but apparently it's meant to go with grilled meats. It's like sake, okay? So the Japanese love it a lot. They eat it with their grilled meats, and apparently Korean restaurants are really big on it over here because it's a totally new product. So Karen actually won basically a bottle of wine that I sent out to her that was courtesy of the importer of this Chinese rice wine, you know. Essentially it's sake, but Chinese sake. And it's kind of like a premium product. And apparently Korean restaurants, Korean barbecue restaurants really have taken to it, so they're very popular. But supposedly it goes really well with grilled meats. But again, like I said, I don't actually drink alcohol. I've tried the bottle they gave me, you know, but to me, all wine tastes the same. I just have no appreciation for wine. I know it's sad, right? So with these dough, what you want to do is you want to cover them with ghee, right? Or oil again, as the case may be. You want to coat them with ghee. So, and then you want to basically separate them. And I'm going to actually put them in muffin tins just to keep them separate, okay? But usually in Malaysia, they would just basically coat them in ghee and then stick them all into the one tub, right? And then you're gonna let it rest. So I actually made some earlier in case these don't get to rest long enough. So you can see me just coating this, okay, with ghee, and I'm just gonna pop them into these muffin trays over here, and that helps to keep it separate. Because I personally tended to find when I was doing this in my restaurant that if I threw them all into the one bucket, that they do tend to start to stick together. So I would have to actually put them on trays separate and then cover them, okay? So just let me wipe my hands. But if you're doing it in small batches like I am now, like I say, a muffin tray is perfect for it, okay? So in theory, you want to let this rest for, they always say 8 hours, but when I was doing it in my restaurant, I didn't always have the luxury of resting it for 8 hours. So I have actually managed to do this in as little as, I think 1 hour. When I shot one of the TV shows, I shot this on. Obviously, we didn't have 8 hours to hang around in this in the studio, right? So I think I really only let it rest about an hour, and you can probably tell in that segment that it felt as though it hadn't quite rested enough. But sometimes one way to fast track the resting, because in Australia we have like fluctuations in the temperature across the year, whereas in Malaysia it's just hot year round. In winter, what I used to do was actually let it proof in the oven. So I would turn on the oven for like a minute or so on the lowest setting just to get it warm enough. And then once I've done these trays of roti dough, I'd stick it in the oven, obviously off, and just let it rest much better. Otherwise, at the height of winter, they're gonna be quite solid and cold, sort of thing. Okay, so there you go. You want to let it rest for a bit. Now let's get back onto the curry, the minced curry. So this is going to be a really, really simple curry recipe. And I'm just I've got half the onion in here. I don't have that much chicken mince here that I'm using, so this will be plenty. And then on top of this, when you do the filling later on, you're gonna have slices of onion as well, raw onion, that go into the roti, okay? So this is it here. Now, like I say, back in my restaurant days, now in Malaysia, everybody specializes, okay? So the guy selling roti canai, the flat bread that has nothing in it, will sell different variations of the same thing. They'll sell roti canai, they'll sell roti telur, which is the flat bread with an egg cracked into it. And he'll sell roti murtabak, which is the roti with a filling in it, and then he'll sell sometimes the banana roti, which I'm making as well. But he's not going to be selling laksa and chicken rice and nasi lemak all in the one store. I did in my restaurant, okay, which is why I didn't have the luxury to kind of like bother with making the pickle that goes with this when nobody is even eating it anyway. So I basically cross-pollinated some of the garnishings from my other dishes. So what I used to do with the filling for roti murtabak, because I didn't sell enough of it to really make it worth my while to make different types of filling for my roti. Because in Malaysia you can get sardine as a filling as well, right? Just pretty much, yeah. So and you can get a vegetarian filling and all that. I didn't have the luxury of making specific fillings for this, so I basically cross-pollinated it with like curry. Okay, so if they want a chicken murtabak, I'll just grab some pieces of chicken from my chicken curry, and then break it up, and then crack an egg into it, add some sliced onion, and use that. They want the beef murtabak, I did the same, but using my beef rendang and all that. Okay, so that's how I kind of like just spread myself out a little bit. Okay, nobody seems to mind. So I'm going to add some garlic to this as well. So it's very rare for me to actually kind of like make a filling like this separately. But I have been told with some guy who actually does sell this for a living back in Malaysia. So this is just garlic granules, okay. Just help me save on my quota of fresh garlic. This guy who sells murtabak in Malaysia, he says that their curries, the filling curry, they use korma curry powder for their curry seasoning. Okay, korma. This is a korma curry powder. No. And you can tell because it literally says Serbuk curry korma or in Baba's korma curry powder. Okay, okay. So it says korma curry powder. It doesn't have to be, like I said, the curries that I use in my filling were not made with korma curry powder. But so for the first time today, I'm actually trying this one out and see how it turns out. A korma curry in Malaysia essentially is like a very, very mild curry. Yeah, so okay, cool. Yeah, so this is the korma curry powder. Like I say, use any kind of curry powder if you want, but a korma curry powder generally doesn't have any chili in it. Because it doesn't have any chili, the curry, the powder looks practically white. And usually if you cook with this, right, your curry will look like a white curry, okay? So let's just put some of that curry powder in here. And I haven't added the oil yet, and I'm going to do that now. Where is my ladle? Here you go. Okay, so let's fry this up. So essentially, I'm making this a very, very basic curry. I'm not going to bother with the extra like ginger and extra lemongrass and all that, okay? But it just goes to show you that you can actually produce a decent curry without all those nice, you know, fancy ingredients, okay? So if ever you're stuck at home wanting to make a curry, you really just need a good curry powder mix. Baba's is actually a good brand. I'm not, you know, I'm not associated with them in any way, but Baba's is a popular Malaysian brand, okay? BABAS. Curry powder, onion, and garlic, that's really enough for you to, you know, to produce a decent curry with. Okay, so I'm just going to fry this. I'm going to tie this. I'm trying to make sure that there's no nothing Noah can kind of like trash, because he's just looking for things that he can tip over and spill out or whatever. Okay, so as far as seasoning, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to this. And a little bit of sugar. And look, you can leave the sugar out. It's just a Jackie M thing. For this particular recipe anyway, the Indian mamaks generally don't have any sugar in their filling, okay? And I'm going to put a little bit of chicken powder, you know me. And if this is the first time you're watching this, you know the chicken powder I use, this is the brand over here. Basically, it's just like using chicken stock cubes, okay? So I'm just putting a little bit of that in here. But of course, you can leave this out. Usually just salt, you know, should be just fine, okay? So I'm gonna add the chicken mince here. I've got probably about, that's probably about 150 grams of chicken here, I think. And this mince, right, you can use it in sandwich filling too if you want. You want to make jackals with it, sort of thing, you know. So you can make a batch of this, and it can come in handy. And you add some coconut milk to it, you can actually, you know, use it as a pasta topping or something like that. Pasta sauce, okay, like a Malaysian pasta sauce. Every time I use this stove, I'm thinking, okay, that's it. I need to change the gas canister because it's so weak. But it looks like it's still going. Let me just get some of these things out of the way. And with the amount of curry powder you use, it's what we call agak, right? Agak means to guesstimate, and I probably use about a tablespoon in here. Okay. If you put too much, you can end up with a really gritty kind of like tasting mixture. Okay, I definitely need to change the gas. Hey, Saretta, good to have you join us. Get this out of the way. So if you're just joining me now, I'm just making the filling for the roti. Roti is a Malaysian flatbread based, well, roti literally in Malay just means bread, okay? But roti canai is what most people know. Roti canai is like a flat layered bread, okay? It's also known as roti prata in Singapore and in some parts of India as well, okay? But we know it as roti canai, which is the flaky flatbread, but I'm not making just the plain flaky bread today. I'm making a filled bread, okay? Using the same recipe, but I'm gonna stick a filling inside the dough. This is more like it. It tastes to me like it needs more of the curry powder. Let me just try it again. Okay, but the caramel curry powder is really, really mild. Of course, you don't have to use caramel curry powder. Like I said, you know, any kind of curry powder will work. But the caramel curry powder essentially is like a mild curry that doesn't have any chili in it at all. And I was told by a guy who sells roti canai in Malaysia that the filling that they use in the Murtabak, which is the filled roti, is made from caramel curry powder. So I thought I'll give it a shot today. And because it's got no chili, that's it looks like a really pale color. Okay, if you were using a different curry powder, usually it'll look like a light brown or a dark brown color. Okay, this should be pretty much okay. Let me just taste test it a bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more salt to this because now I'll add more chicken powder. Okay, let me just transfer this out. So all this curry had in it was just like onion and garlic, chicken mince, the caramel curry powder, and some seasoning. So I've added a pinch of sugar in it, you don't have to, and some chicken powder, a little bit of salt as well. If you want to go really exotic, you can put a dash of fish sauce in it as well, but I think the Malaysian mamas might take issue with that. Okay, let me just, I do still need the pan, just hang on. I'm just gonna move a couple of things out of the way, hang on. Okay, so I need a fair sized work area. Thanks for hosting, Zaretta. I really appreciate it. So let me just get a few things out of the way. I need a fair sized work area for me to be able to work the roti dough from here on in. So give me a couple of minutes while I clear some things out of the way. Okay, bananas. You can use fresh bananas, obviously, and that's what I used to use. But a few weeks ago, I came across this, and Cyan, if you're here, yeah, Cyan. I actually bought these bananas, frozen bananas, and it says they're from the Philippines, okay? Let me just show you the bag of it. Cyan might recognize this, okay? So it says whole steam Sabah banana. I don't know what Sabah banana is, but I saw this at my Asian grocery store. I'm always really curious to try out new stuff, okay? But basically, I've defrosted a couple of pieces of these, and here you go. Let me just, okay. So they're all like evenly sized, right? And I guess, I don't know if they were like unripe to start with, and that's why it's steamed, but they're perfect for me for making like pisang goreng, which is fried banana fritters and all that. And I noticed of late as well, like a famous Thai restaurant here in Sydney uses these bananas as well. Okay, so I'm just going to slice these bananas, okay, these couple of banana slices. And then we're gonna get onto the whole flipping the roti thing, okay? Which reminds me, I should probably have actually brought out like a stainless steel surface. Yeah, but this is what I used to do at my restaurant for banana roti. I would slice up the bananas, okay? Like I said, I did used to use fresh bananas, but this one actually holds its shape much better. And there you go, so some fresh bananas there. And let me just get a couple more things out of the way. So what I use to cook the roti Murtabak in are these flat pans, okay, which they're down in storage and I couldn't be bothered bringing them up. So we're just going to cook them in just this regular frying pan with a lid, okay? The lid will help to keep the heat in and help it to cook evenly for the first part of the cooking process anyway. Okay, so let's give it a go. Just out of the way. So we're going to make the sweet one first because I want the curry filling to chill down. So remember, I've got the dough in these trays here. I'm going to use the one that's been resting for a couple of hours. Here you go here. So what you want is a well-greased surface, okay? And I'm using a table that's got a crack in the middle. Okay, so you want to grease this here. And then you want to, oops, let me try and get, okay, flatten it, okay? Let me just move it across just to get away from the crease. Okay, when you flatten it, what you want to do is to make sure that it's thin at the edges, okay? So make sure you get enough ghee in your hands to work their way around the edges, okay? So let's see how this turns out. And here we go. You want your, if you're right-handed like me, you want your left palm on top, okay? And then your right palm underneath next to it. You see that there? And then what you're going to do is you're going to make a figure eight in the air with your right arm, okay? Just like that. Here we go. Okay. You see it's getting larger. Larger. Okay. Okay. Okay, so you see, I hope you can see this. So you want basically a paper thin layer. And then you just gently, with your hands, just stretch out the edges. Doesn't matter if you make a couple of holes, okay? But always make sure that the edges are thin, okay? So just pinch the edges, be very gentle. You're gonna feel for it after a while. Just pull them. Okay, I'm a little bit tight for space over here. Okay, so you see this over here? What I'm going to do with my pan, I'm going to stick some ghee in it. Okay, and I'm going to stick it underneath this really super thin layer. Okay, got it? And I'm going to toss the banana slices in it. Okay, a few more in there. Okay, and then you're going to fold it up. This pan might not be big enough for it, so I might have to tear a little bit off and then fold it up again. So basically you're making like an envelope here. Okay. Everything I do tends to be supersized, you know, but in Malaysia, their dough balls would be a smaller portion. Okay, so just fold it up. And because I have the luxury of tearing some bits off, I'm tearing off the edges where they're thicker. Okay, so I'm trying to create as thin a layer as possible. So you see it over here. What you end up with is a pastry like this. Okay, and I'm going to cook this on low to medium heat, and I'm going to stick more ghee on top and around it, and I'm going to cover it and let the steam help to cook it faster and more evenly. But at some point, I'm going to take off the lid and finish it off with the lid off, because that will help to crisp it up some more. Okay. I wish I like banana. Yeah, look, banana. Another ingredient that goes into this, like I said, egg, which is a savory version, I guess. But you could try mango, I guess. I had thought about mango. I just, I just don't know how well it will taste. Banana tends to be the go-to filling for the sweet version, anyway. I think I might have seen Nutella for the more hip and funky takes on this sort of thing. But look, what I just did, what I just did is a very, very kind of like a specialized skill, okay? So most Malaysian chefs don't know how to do this. Practically no Malaysian chef knows how to do this, okay? Like I said, even in Malaysia, you don't see a Chinese person like me flipping roti. It's something that I had to teach myself how to do. It's a very, very specific niche within the Malaysian street food scene, okay? There are some Malaysian dishes that most Malaysians should be able to pick up easily, like cooking curries and that sort of stuff, doing the stir fry. Most Malaysians should be confident, but most Malaysians don't know how to do this. Okay. Looks like gum. Yeah, it does. So you want to basically cook both sides, and you don't want to burn it, obviously. But I might use a spatula, but let's see if we can lift this up properly. But usually the way I would serve this is with some scoop of vanilla ice cream or two on the side with it. And I'll also drizzle it with some condensed milk as well beforehand. So yeah. Just make this easy. So this will take a few minutes to cook. Let's just check how it's cooking. Okay, just cook a little bit longer. Let me just try and flip this over. You can see the bananas. Go ahead, have a great day. Thanks again, Zaretta. Good to see you. I'll catch up with you another time. So this should be another minute away or so, sort of thing, and then we're going to transfer it onto a cutting board, and I'll show you what I do with it after this. Okay. The crackling is from the steam, okay? So I'm going to remove the lid now and let it finish cooking so that it crisps. Because you don't want a soggy thing. This is meant to be a crispy banana roti. There you go. You see what it looks like. Okay, so this is done. Okay, and just let me move this across. Just transfer it here. And then what I do, so I use condensed milk. And those of you who are not familiar with condensed milk, it's just sweetened like canned milk, okay? So like this. We use condensed milk a lot in our cooking. Not a lot, but more than you would expect. That's because in Malaysia growing up, we don't get fresh milk. Well, we didn't back in my day anyway. The only access to milk we had was the condensed version, the canned, like long life milk sort of thing. So it ends up showing up in our desserts and in our coffee and all that. So if you're Malaysian, you would usually prefer to have your coffee with condensed milk as opposed to fresh milk. Okay. So what I do is a lattice pattern with the condensed milk. Okay. And get a knife. You see it, and you cut it. And cut it across this way. Plate. Let me have a look. Okay, so I've just got a plain plate here. So this is the sweet banana roti. You can find this in Thailand as well. So I haven't traveled that extensively in Thailand, so I haven't seen it there myself, but there you go, that's the banana roti. So let's make the savory version. So remember, I've got the filling over here that I cooked up. Okay, so this is just a basic mince curry. And let's grab another one of these. Okay. Again, just grease your hands with ghee. Again, you can use oil, okay, which is what most people do nowadays. No, don't touch, okay, baby. Don't touch. No, don't touch. Good boy. So again, there you go. Okay, so you just want to flatten it first. Use the palm of your hand. And you know what? I should slice up some onion. Just reminded me. Thank you, Noah. Because usually you will have like sliced onion with this, sprinkled over the top. So I'll just grab. Okay, so this is just a little bit dotty. Noah, stop. Good boy, yeah. Good boy. Just leave it there, sweetheart. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. Okay. So I'm just gonna. No, don't touch, don't touch. No. No. No, we go sit. Go sit, please. Okay, so let's put some sliced onion over here. And I need an egg, okay? I just realized, hang on a second. This could get messy. Okay, so usually you would crack an egg. And mix some of the filling in it, okay? The filling's a little bit warm, but hopefully it should be okay. You don't want to end up cooking the egg in it, but let's see how we go. Or you can also just crack the egg separately, okay? So just mix that in, and then throw in some of the onion, okay? Or you can throw the onion in over the top, whatever suits. So that's the curry mince, egg, and sliced onion, right? So again, you've got this, you're flattening it. Work the edges, make sure the edges are really thin, okay? That's where most people tend to go wrong. Okay, again, left hand on top, right hand underneath, okay, like that. And then you're gonna do a figure eight in the air using your right elbow. Okay, just stretch it. Just move along the perimeter of the dough as you go, so that it's evenly thin, okay? Now you're just gonna stretch it. Now, in all honesty, when you're making murtabak, you don't need the dough to be quite as thin as if you were making roti canai, okay? That's why I wanted to do the roti canai session a little bit separate. But here you go. Okay, so this is plenty thin, right? But usually you don't actually need it that thin, and I'll show you what to do. I should have done it with this one, but it doesn't matter. So again, you want plenty of ghee or oil in this pan on the bottom, and you're gonna tuck it underneath your pastry. Right, that's the easiest way to do it, guys. I know in Malaysia they just basically put everything on the dough and then they lift it up and throw it onto the griddle, okay? But I find it easier. You don't worry about like you put in too much filling, which I have a tendency to do because I like my murtabak to be really fluffy. In fact, usually when I do this at my restaurant, I use 2 eggs, okay? But I'm just using 1 today, just to show you. So just mix this in and spread it. You know what's going to disrupt? Okay. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, okay. Okay, so you've got the filling there. And then you're going to fold this up. Okay. You tear off some bits. Slowly, gentle, gentle. Okay. Let's see this. Okay. So again, little ghee on top. No, it's stuck. Good boy. Let's cook this. Cover it. So this is just on like about medium, just a touch under medium, okay? Now, if the whole flipping thing is problematic, right? I'll show you how you can just stretch it and essentially get a decent result. Okay, so this is the dough again. Again, brush it with ghee. Okay, so there you go. So again, flatten it. Okay, flatten it, flatten it, flatten it. Okay, you get to this point and you find you can't flip it. Just stretch it with your hands. Okay, you see this? Stretch, stretch, stretch. Just make sure you pull it evenly. Okay. And if you do it with enough patience, you will get there. Okay, stretch. Okay, just be very gentle. I tend to find when I teach people to do this in my cooking classes that they get a little bit carried away and they pull it too hard and then it just breaks up. Okay, so you have to be very gentle and just pull it in like small amounts. Okay, so if you were doing a roti murtabak, generally, you can see this is not as translucent as the ones that I did earlier. This is actually plenty thin for a murtabak. Okay, so you could just do it like this. And even for roti canai, if you were making roti canai, you could actually just do it like this. I cook all this food and I've got nobody to eat it. It's a real dilemma. Okay. So stretch, stretch, stretch. So I end up sometimes giving it to my neighbors. Okay, so let's flip this over. Okay, so that's the one side. Okay. When you serve it up, you want to see the side that has the folds, okay? Because one side is just going to look like a flat sheet, and the other side has all the layers, and that's the pretty side to me anyway, okay? So now if I were just making roti canai, I would dab this with some ghee here, right? And then fold it up like this, okay? Okay, so this is my roti, which I'll cook afterwards. It's just a plain, that's just a plain roti, okay? And I'm just flattening out the edges a bit, putting it over here. Again, the spitting is from the steam, okay? So remember to remove the lid when it starts spitting, so that it can then start to dry up, okay? So there you go. You see that? Okay, so that's the roti. It's a little bit well done on one side. That's the roti Murtabak. Again, scrape off the sliced onion. I'll make another one after this. So I'm just going to flip this across, add some more ghee, turn down the heat a little bit, and I'm going to cook the plain roti in here. Again, I'll just cover it. Okay, you don't actually have to. In Malaysia, they don't cover it, okay, because they cook it on a little griddle. But to me, it just cooks faster. So you cut it like this. Okay. There you go. Let's grab a plate. Okay, so that's my first lot of Murtabak. You can see what I mean about the pattern sides. Okay. And then usually, like I said, you'll have like a curry sauce next to it, but oops, it's about to burn this one. This might be burnt. It's not too bad. Let's put a bit more ghee on top. Flip it over. Okay, so you see it sort of like puffs up. Okay. I wasn't planning to do the roti canai plain because I was going to do a different session on it. But it doesn't matter, we can always do it at another time. Again. The reason I was going to do a separate session was because, like I said, you know, people always ask me about the whole flipping thing and all that sort of stuff. Just a little bit longer. Then I'm going to crack another egg into this and make another roti Murtabak. Okay. Okay, so let's take this off. Like I said, the flip side is the side that you want. It's a little bit burnt. But what we do with the roti, you can see it over here, is that once it comes off the pan, not with Murtabak, but with a plain roti, is that we actually scrunch it up, okay, to release some of the steam, okay, and then we serve it all scrunched up like this. I'm going to do another one because this one got a little bit burnt, but you get the idea. Smooth this out the way. Okay. So that's the dough. I don't even remember if this was the one that I made just now or whether it's from the earlier version that had been resting, okay? But we'll soon find out how stretchable it is, despite the fact that it's only rested for about 45 minutes or so. Okay, so again, just flatten it with lots of ghee. I usually complain about this not getting hot enough, but for whatever reason, since I changed the canister, this one's really kind of like just gotten super, super hot. So again, like this, and flip. So this is from the side because I can tell that it's a little bit it's a little bit like harder to kind of like pull out, you know what I mean? So it's still kind of like, it feels like it could use a little bit more rest compared to the other one, but it's still fine. Okay. So let's make another roti canai, which like again is the plain one, the one without the filling. So usually if you're doing this, you'll need like a large surface area. I've got about, I'm using about a third of my dining table surface, and it's not quite, I could probably clear the entire dining table if I wanted to, and still find it, you know, it's a little bit tight. Okay, so roti canai, just some ghee in the middle, fold it up. Okay, and fold it up. I'm just going to tear off some of the edges. Okay, so that's it here. Dab it with ghee. Turn on my pan. Just cook it for a minute or two. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. This can get a little bit, you know, because my hands are all oily, it's a bit hard for me to watch the screen. Oh, thank you, Nurse Pickles. It's very awkward for me to mention your name on air, but yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, so right now I'm making the plain roti canai. I'm just gonna check the underside. I don't want to risk burning this lot as well. But you can see it sort of like puffs up during the cooking. Okay, we'll just flip it over. It's a little bit pale still. No, you want to eat? Okay, come here, try this. Good boy. Okay, so I've got two different batches of roti, one that has roti dough, one that had rested for a couple of hours before I went on air, and the other lot that really I did live on air, okay? So just for the sake of comparison to kind of like see how long you really actually need to rest your dough before you work it. Okay, it's a little bit longer. But like I say, conventional wisdom or generally they say rest it for 8 hours or something like that. nobody has the luxury of 8 hours every single time sort of thing. So I've cut it down to as little as 2 hours in the past, and I'm trying it today now with just practically no time. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So this looks quite pretty. Okay. So usually with this roti here, like I said, what they do is toss it on the bread. You can see it. Just toss it here, and then they'll use the palm of their hands to just kind of like fluff it up like this. Okay, and that's your roti canai. There you go. And I'll make another martabak since I've got all this dough. And I've got the filling. So the filling is just a plain curried mince. And the reason it looks so pale is because I use the kurma curry powder, which apparently is what the mamaks who sell this in Malaysia use as well. But you can use any kind of curry powder. Back in my business, I use different curry powders for this, okay? But so it's just onion, garlic, and mince plus seasoning, okay? So let's do another filled roti. Here we go. Okay, so this is one of the fresh batches. Flatten it. Okay. And again, just flatten it with the palm of your hand. Make sure the edges are thin. If the edges are too thick, they're going to tear when you flip, okay? Because it's going to throw off basically the weight distribution. Okay, so like this, one palm on top and one on the bottom. Okay, like this, and then you flip it and do a figure eight with your elbow, with your right elbow, assuming you're right-handed. Okay. So when you're making roti martabak, you don't need the dough to be quite as wafer thin because it's got to hold the weight of the filling as well. So in Malaysia, usually what they will do is they'll spread the filling over here, fold it up, and then toss it onto the griddle to cook, okay? But so we don't risk breaking tearing the pastry, what I usually do. Plus, back in my restaurant days, everything I do is like kind of like it's kind of like a mega version. So like my laksas and all that had like a lot of stuff in them. And likewise with my roti martabak, it had like a lot of filling compared to what you would get in Malaysia traditionally. So I slide this underneath slide the pan underneath the pastry, right? And line the pastry, line the pan with the pastry. Okay, so this is the filling over here. And the filling, you crack an egg into the curry mince and also throw in some slices of raw onion. This is on top of the onion that was already used to cook the curry with, onion and garlic, okay? So just fold it up like this. Fold it up. And I'm just going to tear off the edges a little bit. Fold it up. And you see the edges tend to be a little bit thick. Okay, that's where I'm just going to tear them off. Like this, okay? And then more ghee. Okay, and then just cook it. Cover. After this broadcast, I might have to like go around with a sponge, like a soapy sponge, and sponge everything down because, like, I usually wear gloves when I do this, but I'm doing this with my bare hands, so I'm basically cross-contaminated. Everything I touch, including like the pile of plates and all that. No, shush, shush. cheese, garlic, and pie. Yeah, you know what? It's funny you should mention it because about 10 years ago in Sydney, someone tried to open a fusion restaurant that basically used this dough as the base for pizza, right? And it didn't work out. I never tried it, but they didn't stay around for very long. They were open for about 6 months or something like that, and then they shut down. So, but I can see, like, you know, how there are some crossovers in terms of, I can see how someone thought it would be a good idea. Okay. Okay, so this should just take a couple of minutes to cook through. I've just seen your live story. I'm so inspired by you. Oh, thank you. I have my moments. Okay, let's flip this over. Okay. So the bottom layer basically is just a flat layer because it's just a flat sheet, right? It looks less interesting. When I served it up, I would always like flip it over on the other side so that you get the patterned layer. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean after this. And also, I've been to Indonesian restaurants here in Sydney where instead of doing the pastry like this, they actually just use spring roll skin. So the spring roll skin, those large sheets of spring roll skin that you can buy at Asian grocery stores, they just use that as the pastry. So, but it's just not the same to me. It's almost like making a flat spring roll. Ultimately, you know, when you do that. But that is something you can consider. But this isn't hard. You've seen how I've done it, right? Okay, so give it a few goes and you'll be an expert. And you will, you know, you will have a skill that you can carry with you for life. You can go to New York and any Malaysian restaurant will want to hire you because you know how to do this. Trust me on that. You go to New York, talk to Anthony Bourdain, and he'll put money into a restaurant for you to run just because you can make this. Okay, Noah's just picking bits of this. I want to take a photo of this before Noah eats it all up, but he's just picking bits of the roti. Hey, little monkey boo. Okay, so this is done. So this is the pattern side. Okay, this is the one with the multi layers. So I'm going to use that. Toss this over there. So just slide this onto a cutting board. I don't know, you can't see Noah on the screen. It's just tearing strips of my roti and eating them. Okay, so you cut this into 8 pieces. Okay, so half down the middle and then half again, either side, and then half across. Okay. Okay. No, wait. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. So that's the Murtabak and that's the Roti Canai. I'm going to take a photo so you can see. You guys, it doesn't even look attractive at this stage because I don't have the cucumber. Okay. Like I said, you're just joining me now. Someone gave me a hard time online when I posted that picture that I said I'm making that tonight. They're going, oh, you just said your Murtabak isn't meant to be served with cucumber. I said, look, it's just for decoration, for color contrast. Okay. Plus, Aussies weren't a big fan of the traditional pickled onion that gets served with this. Noah's just tearing strips of my roti before. Noah, I'm going to take a photo before you eat this, okay? Oh my goodness. There it goes. Anyway, there you go, guys. I hope this was helpful. It looks really good. I'm impressed. I will give it a go. Yeah, do that. It's, you know, you'll probably, you know, to be honest, you'll probably end up throwing out the first 10 batches of this while you kind of like fine tune your skills, all right? I've only ever seen one person do this online following my recipe, who actually had it turn out well. I was really impressed. But generally, look, you know, when I was teaching myself how to make this, it took me about 10 batches of dough of practice and never giving up before I finally got the hang of it. Okay, so that's the murtabak, the one with the filling. Okay, you can see the filling in the middle. And this is the plain roti over here that no one's been salvaging. There you go, guys. Okay, thanks so much for your time. This Friday, Australian time, which is Thursday night USA time. It's Vegan Friday again. So Vegan Friday means I'm going to try and do something interesting vegan style based on a pre-existing non-vegan Asian recipe. Okay, so that's my take on the whole vegan thing. And I hope you can join me then. Don't forget to follow me. If you're watching this anywhere else, go to www.jackiem.live and follow me on Twitch. That way you can interact with me on the chat and get to win prizes. I will get these last 2 weeks prizes. I will get Cyan to kind of like pick 2 winners that we can send out the curry paste out to. Okay. So thanks again. I shall see you next time. Ciao. Hey Sarah. Hi. Yeah, you can watch the replay, Sarah. So just hit replay after this, and it will show up.